I bet the bachelorette party he'd begged me for SX, his revenge days later, turned the tables. It's funny how a little joke with friends could change everything in your life. When I mean changes, I don't mean good, but bad. My life is about going from good to bad, if not worse at the moment. I had this bad habit of always discussing my fiancé with my friends and always telling them things about my love life. I didn't see anything wrong with that. Of course, they were my close friends, and I felt like I could share whatever it was with them. I created no boundaries, and now I'm really regretting ever making such a mistake. They never had any sort of respect for my fiancé because of the way I had portrayed him to them. My friends acted funny any time he was around us. I have made the biggest mistake ever, and I don't know how to fix this. Hi, Reddit. My name is Lucinda. I am 25 years old. The name of my fiancé is Williams, and he is 29 years old. Williams and I have been together for 3 years. Our wedding was to come up last weekend, but unfortunately, there was no wedding because Williams was very upset with me at my bachelorette party. My friends and I made a bet about him, and he didn't think twice about calling off the wedding. I honestly don't know how to feel right now. I never expected this to happen. I can't even blame anyone or my friends about what happened because they didn't force me to say anything about my love life to them in the first place. I was really a big fool to have said such a private thing to my friends. Yes, it's good to have friends and share things with them, but not all things at least. Most especially, your love life, which must be kept private. Don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not really against telling your close friends things about yourself. There should be a limit to what you share to them most, especially things about your partner and you. I never had this mindset a few months back. How I wish I had known better. I wouldn't have found myself in this messy situation. My life was going perfectly well until I got too comfortable with my friends and started saying stuff to them. They didn't betray me by going behind my back to tell Williams anything. At least to the best of my knowledge, they didn't. They only acted funny, or should I say awkward, anytime Williams was around. The ideal breaker was at the bachelorette party. A party that was meant to be one of the happiest moments of my life. Memories from that day keep hurting me so bad. I really do not know what to do at this moment to fix everything that has happened. Guys, I honestly did not mean to hurt Williams in any way. I wish I could explain things to him and apologize for the humiliation he faced because of me. He also reacted to it, though. It wasn't like Williams stood there and watched himself getting humiliated by some group of girls. My so-called friends, actually. There's a saying that goes, there's a reaction for every action. It was our actions that made Williams react the way he did. His reaction to that at the party wasn't funny at all. In our 3 years of knowing each other, I have never seen Williams that angry before. I saw a different side of him, the side of him that I wished I didn't see. Guys, I really do not know the words to describe the way Williams behaved that moment. Williams, that I knew really well before that incident, was a very calm and nice gentleman. Someone that wouldn't hurt a fly on a normal day. I saw a different person entirely, and I was shocked. My friends who had known Williams were so taken by surprise also. Honestly, guys, no one expected to see Williams behave that way. We all, my friends and I actually, saw him as a simp, so to say. I knew Williams to be someone who doesn't get angry easily. Even when we had misunderstandings, Williams never flared up or raised his voice at me. Most of the time, he would walk out from the situation and probably go somewhere to take his mind off it. Sometimes, he usually sits quietly and lets me do the talking. With that, I thought he was intimidated by me and couldn't stand up to me. I always felt like I was doing him a huge favor by dating him because I'm a very pretty lady. I have a good number of guys begging me to be theirs even before I met Williams. Williams had everything a lady would ever want in a guy. He got the looks and money. I didn't know what got into me to think that dating Williams was me doing him a big favor, whereas he got everything a lady would look out for in a man. I really messed up by letting him off my hands. Williams put up with my excesses and didn't complain about anything. I let my beauty and the wrong advice I got from my close friends ruin my relationship and life as a whole. I also have a share of blame in this. It's one thing to take advice from random people, and it's another thing to work with that advice. Not all advice is genuine, actually. Some could be coming from a place of hate under the disguise of friends. When Williams and I first started dating, I didn't disclose anything that was going on between us with my friends. The first year of our relationship was great. Sorry, guys. I forgot to mention how Williams and I met. We met at a friend's birthday party. Long story short, we met and got to like ourselves, and we decided to give love a chance since we both were single at that time. That was it, guys, and it was amazing back then. I was happy to have been with someone like Williams back then. At that time, things weren't funny for me. I struggled to pay my own bills and other personal expenses. You all would think I accepted Williams' proposal because I wanted a financial breakout, but that wasn't the case. I did love Williams genuinely from the beginning. My relationship with him wasn't because I wanted him to pay my bills and all of that. No, guys, it was nothing of such. Yes, as a lady who wouldn't be happy to have a rich boyfriend that would sort your bills, absolutely every lady would want that, even though she has a well-paid job. Her man's money would be like a bonus, of course. I'm one of the ladies that likes to be spent on by my man, even if I have a good job that pays really well. During the period Williams and I were together, I didn't move into his house. I never liked the idea of moving into my partner's house when we're still dating and not married, even though Williams proposed for us to come live together because he didn't see anything wrong with that. Well, nothing was wrong with that, actually. I didn't feel like moving in. Williams got me a really nice place to stay and made sure that I was comfortable. A good apartment that was registered in my name. I was happy that I had an apartment of my own. My friends came over to spend 1 or 2 days with me before going back to their place because mine was very comfortable. Williams had it restocked every month with all the necessary things I needed. I never had a problem with them coming over to spend time with me till whenever they felt like leaving. Williams, on the other hand, had no problem with it. At least to the best of my knowledge, because he never complained about it. Williams also proposed getting a job for me, which I declined immediately. I didn't see any reason to work when my boyfriend at that time was rich and had the capacity to provide whatever I wanted. At that time, we had already been dating for 2 years, and we were planning on getting married to each other. The job was a very good offer, but I thought about the stress and declined. I didn't see any need to stress myself out. All I wanted was to enjoy myself and look good for Williams. I invested my time in taking good care of myself, so Williams won't be embarrassed to take me out to any of his business meetings with his colleagues and business partners. Well, like I said earlier, I'm a beautiful lady. All I need is money to maintain my beauty. Williams never complained about that. He gave me monthly upkeep to do that. Guys, imagine being given a good amount of money every month just to look good and get whatever you wanted. That's not to talk about the other household bills Williams was taking care of also, so you all can see that there wasn't any need for me to work. Everything was just being taken care of by my fiancé. My friends also told me how lucky I was to have such a good guy as my boyfriend back then. He wasn't just good, but also rich. Then I had not started telling them things about our love life to them. They held Williams in high esteem and respected him. Things changed when I started complaining about a few things about Williams to them. It was then they didn't have any regard for him any longer. It is no one else's fault but mine. They never asked or begged me to say anything to them. I, on the other hand, didn't see anything wrong with that. I always thought they might do no harm if I shared whatever it was that was bothering me. Looking back now and remembering a few instances I told them things about Williams to them and the response they gave, it didn't actually make any sense now. I still can't believe how I was too blind and foolish not to see that I had surrounded myself with people that didn't mean well for me. I have been trying so hard to forgive myself for hanging out with them and sharing intimate things about my partner to them. Come to think of it, guys, they never really shared anything about their partners with me. Anytime we hung out, we mostly talked about myself and Williams and some other random stuff. None shared anything about themselves in the discussion. They were always eager to hear whatever I had to say and always had 1 or 2 things to comment. If there was to be an award for the stupidest person, then I would be the best person to take it, because I was. Really stupid back then. When I had realized my mistake, it was already too late. Like the saying goes, there's no point in crying over a spilt milk. The deed has been done already, and I am left alone to face the consequences. I brought it on myself from the beginning. One of the things I told them about Williams, which I shouldn't have, was the fact that Williams was crazy about making love and getting intimate at every little chance he got whenever he was less busy, and it was just the 2 of us at home. It is crazy, isn't it? That was it. Williams was crazy about that. Not only that, Williams was also obsessed with me. At the beginning, I loved that. I'm beautiful, and I have what a man would look out for in a woman. Of course, who wouldn't be obsessed with such a lady like me? Like I said earlier, I loved it so much. I felt very happy knowing how Williams treated me with so much love and was also obsessed with me. The first few months of the relationship went smoothly, and I didn't have any reason to complain. I'm sure you guys know the feeling of being into a new relationship, one that's less stressful and drama-free. You don't have to worry or stress about anything because there's nothing there to give you a hard time. My relationship with Williams was the best I've ever had. It's just that I got a bit carried away with the way he treated me and acted like his world revolved around me, which it wasn't. The way Williams gave importance to me got into my head and I lost my mind. To make matters worse, I messed up his reputation in front of my friends. Guys, I told them about how Williams was always demanding us to make love and how obsessed he was about it. It was fun telling them at that time. Like I said earlier, I was being stupid. If I could turn back the hands of time, I would love to do better. At this point, I think I owe Williams an apology for not how I humiliated in front of my friends at the bachelorette party, but also how I constantly disrespected him and made him the topic of discussion anytime I hung out with them. But the problem now is Williams doesn't want to see me or talk to me. He asked me not to come any closer to me. I have tried everything I could just to see him and apologize, but he's been difficult. I want us to go back to how we were and continue our relationship from where it stopped. I realized that I was stupid and I'm ready to make it right like it should have been. I want to show Williams that I have changed and not the Lucinda he knew back then. I just hope he could give our relationship a second chance. Guys, do you think Williams is really going to give our relationship the second chance? If you guys know how that is going to happen, I would really like you guys to tell me about it. It's not yet too late, right? They told me that's my cross to carry, and I should do just that. If I hadn't taken any of their advice seriously, maybe I wouldn't have found myself in this kind of situation. This is a very big situation, and I can't seem to find myself coming out of it anytime soon. Everything's just messed up, and it has been taking a toll on me lately. I keep thinking about the incident, and it's not funny at all. What pains me the most is the fact that Williams does not want to have anything to do with me any longer. He doesn't pick my calls or return them. All of the messages I sent to him, he hasn't replied to any. Going over to the house is not even an option at this point. I have tried, but it didn't work out. The last time I did, Williams was still upset and didn't make an attempt to come out and see me. He let the gatekeeper throw me out like a piece of trash. I felt really embarrassed that day. Imagine my gatekeeper who I ordered around throwing me out of the same house I always come over to spend a few days. Guys, that was too much for me to bear. After that day, I decided not to go closer to the house for some time until everything has cooled down. Maybe Williams might reconsider and give our relationship the second chance it deserved. Williams had no idea that he was put on speaker and everyone could hear his voice. After a few minutes on the phone, Williams said he was coming over to the party to see me. I told him I couldn't wait to have him over either, and we ended the call. After the call, the girls and I all bursted into laughter again. At that time, it was intense because it was very funny. One of them even called Williams a lover boy who couldn't stay away from his woman for a few hours. I told them that they thought I was joking when I said Williams was waiting for me to get out of the party so we could make love to each other. I also told the girls to be ready because I have lots of things I was going to ask them to do. While we were talking about that, Williams showed up and immediately one of the girls shouted, "Here comes the lover boy," from behind. Everyone all started laughing and I couldn't laugh even though it was funny because Williams was around. Williams and I hugged and kissed each other. He held me for a few minutes and asked when the party was going to end because he couldn't wait any longer. He told me he had missed me and the party was taking forever to end. I asked Williams to wait for one more hour and we would wrap things up. Just then, at that moment, one of my closest friends, Kate, told Williams that they weren't going to hold me back forever, that he should be patient for 1 hour like I had said, and shouldn't be childish. The rest of the girls laughed and agreed with Kate. Immediately, Williams got offended and asked me what Kate meant by what she said, because I also was laughing at the joke. I told Williams to ignore Kate and asked him if he had forgotten how naughty she could be most of the time. Williams got really offended and asked what was going on and why everyone seemed to be acting funny since the moment he walked into the hall. He asked if he was a clown or something, and I told him to calm down because he was overthinking stuff. I held his hand and pulled a chair and asked him to sit down and relax himself a bit so that he might be stressed out. Williams told me not to patronize me with the nonsense I was saying because he knows that something was fishy. Immediately, one of the girls out of nowhere said Lucinda had placed a bet on you that you couldn't wait for her to finish up with the party so you guys can make love to eat each other. She added that I had put Williams on speaker and they all listened to our conversation. The lady who said that was Winnie, one of my high school mates. She was lousy back then in high school and still hasn't changed. To even make matters worse, Winnie told me to tell the gentleman what was going on and I should stop beating around the bush because she was getting irritated by our drama already. The rest of the girls kept laughing at what Winnie said, which made Williams more furious. I just stood there not knowing what to do or say. I controlled myself not to laugh after seeing Williams' facial expression. He was already angry and looked like a timing bomb that was going to explode in a few seconds. Just then, Williams raised the tablecloth, making everything on the table to fall off. No one expected to see such a reaction from Williams. They thought it was nothing of a big deal to him. I also thought the same. I didn't expect to see him react that way over a silly joke we made about him. Williams came closer to me and asked me if what Kate and Winnie had said was true. I looked at Williams for a few seconds, breathing heavily and stuttered on words. I didn't know which answer to give, whether a yes or a no. I was very shocked to see Williams that furious. Williams saw me stuttering, and he was getting impatient. He yelled at me and asked me to answer him that very minute. Out of fear, I said yes and told him that it was just a joke and that it was nothing serious. Williams asked if it was just a joke, and I had the audacity to put him on speaker so my friends could make fun of him. He picked up a chair and broke it on the table. Williams asked him what his offense was for giving me the bridal shower I had wanted. He said if I could make fun of him in front of my friends, then I would have been doing it even before that moment. I had nothing to say to defend myself. Everything Williams said that moment was nothing but the truth. Within a few seconds, he figured it out that I had constantly disrespected him and put him down in front of my friends, and that was why they had no regards for him. All of my friends stayed back and watched Williams and I. Of course, it was a thing of show to them. If they had had their phones with them, they wouldn't have hesitated to record it. They were the ones that got me into this mess, most especially Kate and Winnie. If they had shut their mouths up, Williams wouldn't have found out what was happening that night. Williams told me how disappointed he was and left the hall. He warned me not to get close to him. I ran after him just to explain things to him and apologize to him for placing a bet on him. Williams drove off and didn't hear what I had to say. Not only that, guys. Williams also instructed my driver that brought me to the party to follow him back home and not open the door for me. The venue of the party was quite a distance from my place, and Williams also. To get a cab would be very difficult, plus there was no signal to book a cab. The weather wasn't funny that day. It was about to rain, and it wasn't going to stop anytime soon if it started. Just in. That moment there were thunderstorms and lightning. Before I knew what was happening, the rain had started falling heavily. All my friends ran into their cars, and none of them could offer to help me. Some even had the audacity to tell me they weren't going my way, and I should book a cab to come get me, and they would sort the bill. It sounded funny to me because I didn't know when I told them that I couldn't afford a cab. Just because Williams left me and asked my driver to leave me behind gave them the audacity to think that I was penniless. They all got into their cars and left me at the party alone. Just when I got a little signal, I tried to book a cab, but my phone went dead. I ran out of battery that night. How horrible could the night be? I had never been frustrated like I was that day in my whole life. Everything stopped working, and I couldn't think of any reasonable thing to do. I was left with the option of going on foot and trying my luck to see if any Good Samaritan goods came my way. But unfortunately, I didn't find any. I walked aimlessly on the street, all drenched with rain. I was unable to get home because the distance was far and it was already late that night. I had to spend the night at a dilapidated building. Those were the most uncomfortable nights of my life. I had to sleep on a bare floor with no blanket for support. The clothes I had on were soaked, which made me feel a little under the weather. The worst of it was that I didn't know what time it was at that point. The night took forever, and I couldn't wait to go back home. So guys, the next morning I started my journey back home. It took me roughly an hour to get back home. I met Williams prepared to drive out of the compound. I got closer to him and told him how sorry I was about the whole thing. I asked him to take a good look at me and told him how horrible my night was just because he left me. I started crying, trying to see if Williams would show sympathy, but he didn't. Williams told me to get back from his car, that he had an important place to go and didn't have time for jobless people like. That was a bit harsh, but I didn't say anything. Williams looked at the main door to the house and asked the gatekeeper to walk me out of his compound, and he left. I felt really embarrassed with the way Williams treated me that moment. I felt a little disappointed in myself for letting such a thing happen. If I hadn't placed a bet on him, he wouldn't have treated me that way. So guys, after Williams left, I went over to my place and got freshened up and I got my phone. I put the phone back on and decided I would keep receiving messages almost immediately. Guys, I discovered that the wedding had been called off. At that moment, I felt like running mad. At that moment, I began calling Williams to demand an explanation for that nonsense, but he didn't pick any of my calls. Imagine being at his house that morning and didn't even tell me what was happening, if not that I had put on my phone. I got dressed and went back to his house. And at that time, the gatekeeper refused me into the compound because Williams instructed him not to. Guys, it's been a week now and I haven't been able to speak with him. My wedding has been called off and my fiancé isn't saying anything. I don't know what to do at this point. Update. The payment is to last 6 months, and every month there's an estimated amount for me to pay. If I'm not able to pay up for that month, 3 of my most expensive clothes would be set on fire. It's been 2 months and I haven't paid anything. Like Williams promised, 6 of my expensive clothes have been burnt. He always sends pictures and videos of them to me. I don't know who to run to that could help me. I have called and texted Williams, but he's not picking or replying to any of my text messages. Going over to the house is a waste of time because the gatekeeper wouldn't even open the gate once he knows I was the one. I don't want Williams to keep burning my clothes. They are the only valuables I have right now. He knew if he had let me go with them, I would sell them off and start up a new life. That was why he instructed the guys that kicked me out not to let me take anything from the house. This new lifestyle is really hard, and I'm gradually losing my mind. I wish there's a way out of this. My clothes are getting burnt every month, and it's heartbreaking to know that there's nothing I can do about it. I wish I had a job that could earn me money so I could pay Williams and free me from this.